huge houses. Of course, I've already missed Rodney's, but it's you flip the apps. I see.
Oh, South Michigan.
Yep.
Reese being judgmental as we look at the Sears Tower.
Did you just miss parking or frosting?
Be quiet.
I cannot believe Erica said we have
Be
to go
quiet.
downtown and see frosting.
Erica, I just told Reese that you said we had to go downtown and something frosting, but we gotta find parking, not frosting. It's all good. Yay!
CC works at UPS.
Participating bakery cafe. Digging the universe, you don't always notice threats. Like cyber criminals attacking your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Or thieves steal your identity. That's why Norton and LifeLock have teamed up to help protect one of the silent threats in today's
Those gargoyles.
I know.
an identity theft.
I just want a gargoyle ice sculpture.
Soon you fight together in their universe.
To my chest.
When the trip turns into a vacation.
True.
Okay.
That's real. You close?
So tell us about our trip here to this boat.
So apparently you don't buy the tickets the same place you get on the boat. Apparently it's like 100 miles away.
Louder, nigga. That means it's loud.
Apparently it's 100 miles away, and Reese wants you to run all 100 miles. I ran about 25 of them though. I did for real though.
25 yards.
No, I ran 25 miles at 100 miles, if you like equate it. Anyways, but it was cool. We got here, and then we just had to hurry up and wait. So it was cool, but we're on the boat tour, so super excited. We're sitting in front of the Trump Tower. Reason to feel my heart. And my heart's right here. I'm trying to feel on my breast. You feel it?
Nope.
I feel it. And it flutters and skips a beat. So.
Here's some other buildings that they'll tell us about.
Oh, there's the NBC building.
And you said it was a pelican?
Be quiet. Of course not. I would never say that.
A pelican.
Not a pelican.
What is it, Coin?
It's the NBC building.
What is it?
A peacock. What else could it be?
It could be the Illuminati.
Where you see that? See an owl?
What building would that be?
Which one?
The one that's not built yet. Did you think there was enough space to make a new building?
It's parking. Look at the artwork.
And it's May. And their stuff is starting to bloom like ours in February.
The Weldon Tower in Seville, Spain, the Fox Tower. It's a Renaissance revival style. I think what's important about it is the white material on the walls. The white material is terracotta. It's a Latin word meaning fire earth. Essentially, it's pottery that you fire in a kiln for 2 weeks at 2,500 degrees. It comes out. It's very decorative, but the real key is it's fireproofing this building. Fireproofing is a really, really big deal here in Chicago. So that's actually modeled after the Rouen Cathedral in France, the Gothic Cathedral in France. Beautiful, beautiful building. Now, second prize was a modern, very modernist Art Deco building, and it looks very much like the building on the left, right on the corner, that very tall, narrow building. That is a 1928 building designed by Halliburton, and really he basically looked at second prize by Elio Saarinen and said, okay, let's just kind of take that idea. So we ended up purpose, don't tear them down, save them, particularly if they're significant building like this particular building is significant. Now Now we have another wonderful historical building in the distance. This is on your left. It has 4 temples on the corners of it, a very large temple up at the top. One of the temples is covered up right now. They're restoring the terracotta on this building. This is all terracotta. It looks like stone, but it's terracotta. Anyways, this is the Jewelers Building from 1926, designed by Baron Dinkelberg. This building was intended to be leased out to jewelers. And how they attracted jewelers into this one is they had an elevator for in the lobby for your car. You drove through the front door with your car into the elevator, and you went up and parked next to your office inside with your car right next to your office.
Yeah, that's tight.
Now, why did they do that? Well, in the 1920s, we had a lot of bad guys in Chicago. So if you were in a chase, you had a car full of jewels, you just roared through the front door. Jewelers loved it. The beautiful temple at this time was a speakeasy nightclub called the Stratosphere Lounge. In the 1920s, can you imagine how a jumping place that was? That was the tallest building in the city when it was built. Now, it's a very long complete here in the city. We're eventually going to have about 25 miles. It's going to take another 10 years to finish this project. I think the hardest part has been this downtown one to get this in, but this was designed by Carol Burney and Sasaki Associates. Between each bridge, each area has sort of a different theme. There's restaurants, there's bars, there's wine places, there's a theater, there's a nature park, there's all kinds of different things to help entertain people. It's a wonderful placing agency. Now this is a design called postmodern. Postmodern architects, which are the really current designs, try to have some sort of a historical reference in the design of the building to the lot, to try to tie the building to the lot. If you look at the corners of it, they mimic the bridge house here right in front of it. They put the bridge house into the building and said, okay, this building belongs here. I will remind everyone of that with the bridge house. Bridge houses in the design. Okay, so we come out from under this bridge, and on the left, don't worry about the building on the right. I'm not forgetting, plus Sam when we come back up forever, but take a look at this huge glass building with the reflective mirror-like windows on it. This is designed by Ricardo Bofill in 1992. This was built originally for United Airlines as their headquarters. Again, postmodern. It's beautiful at night. The windows are blue, and they light them up. All the lights come on in the building, and off, and you get to see the beautiful stonework design at the top to remind everyone.
Hey, those windows are open.
Okay, this area coming up on the left is my favorite. This is the theater area. People come here, they visit with their friends, they have lunch, they come out here and dinner. And eventually we're going to do both barges up here and have musical acts and plays right here in the river, and then people sit here in the theater and enjoy it. A neat Art Deco building behind it. This is one with the American flag coming out of it. This is a 1930 building by Halliburton Roof. This building, notice the shape of it. The shape of it, it looks like an armchair. You can imagine a giant could sit down and rest his arms on it. Our Art Deco buildings tend to look like armchairs, and the reason is in the early 20s or 20s and 30s, they had no air conditioning and they had terrible light bulbs. The addition on the building, then you take a look at the roof. What they did is they added a 4-story glass mansard roof to the left and the right side of the building. Water pits. Beautiful. It's really neat when it matures. Building on the left with the American flag coming out of it. That's an 1992 building by Cone Pedersen and Fox. You'll notice the flag is coming out of what looks like a porthole. They put a porthole in it because they said, well, it's on a river, let's have some portholes in the building. Now, the building you'll see right around the corner here on the left and the other side of the bridge is green curved glass building. This is also by Cone Pedersen and Fox. This was done in 1983. This is an absolute beauty. It's got a curved front on it because, of course, the building is on a curve in the river. Yeah, I love the reflective glass. It's like a mirror when you see the building. It reflects all the buildings around it. It's very neat any time of the day. It's great to look at this building. Notice though the way they laid the whole layout of the building. Normally, you put all the machinery up at the top and then run your offices all the way to the bottom. Here, where you see the gray granite wall at the bottom, that's where all the machinery is to run the building.
Oh, that's
the reason
different.
they flipped it is there's a train track running right against the back wall, and they said we will never rent those offices because the trains are incredibly noisy, the elevated trains, so let's put the mechanicals at the bottom
Yeah, that
and run
makes
the
sense.
offices to the top. Really beautiful
makes
building. Now we're going to be going into the north branch of the river. There's 3 branches. The north branch is the source of the river. It's about 50 miles north of here in a swamp, a little trickle.
That's the Sears Tower.
This is
Oh,
the
is that
south
this black one
branch,
here?
which we'll be in later. That heads to
This
the
one right here,
Mississippi River.
the base of it.
Now straight ahead, it's a
Pencil.
beautiful building
Yeah.
with an arch in it. This is a new building designed by Picard Chilton for the
What up,
Hines,
Rodney?
property management company.
where's the Sears
This is
Tower?
an
Oh, right there?
unbelievably bad lot. It took them 3 years to figure out how to put a building up in this lot. The problem with the lot, you have an elevated train going through it. There's a subway going underneath it. You've got sewer pipes running underneath it. And there are 6 railroad tracks going right through the center of the lot. It took an unbelievable thing to figure the foundations out to build this here. And 4 of them here, River Cottages, 1988. Notice the triangles are everywhere. He was a
Not a
sailor
triangle,
who
it's a
loved the
trapezoid.
form of a triangle. We have 3 skyscrapers downtown that he designed. They're all triangles. Interesting enough, when this was built, everyone said, Harry, you're going to die with this. No one wants to be down in the river. This is an 88 and it's really polluted. It smelled bad. And it took a huge impact on changing this whole neighborhood. This neighborhood was industrial, factories, and commercial warehouses and buildings. Suddenly this 10,000 member health club goes in. And everyone said, well, I'd like to live close to my health club. And there is no place close to my health club. The buildings started to get converted to residential in this neighborhood just to provide places for people to live who wanted to be active in the health club. This changed this entire North Shore neighborhood. Originally, there were no windows in it because they said, who in the world wants to look at that smelly river? About 15 years later, the river got cleaned up and put windows in it. Also notice the river walk. The city requires you, if you own a property on the river, you're going to do any kind of remodel or anything, you've got to put a river walk in. I think right across the river, there's a great example of what's going on now. These are the 2002 designed by Papa George Hank. Beautiful townhouses, 3 stories high. But now everyone's focused on the river. You got your home looking at the river, you've got a nice little lawn, you've got a river walk. Okay, good. You get to see a barge moving. I'll show you when we're at the end of the North Branch where we turn around. This is now all residential around it. There's a children's park in the center of it. If you come here in the summertime, this is filled with children, which I find interesting because we have not just retired people and young people moving into the city, we have families moving into the city now. And I understand they're building an new elementary school in this neighborhood just to handle the children, which is fantastic. The building in the center with the triangular chevrons on it, that's by Lucien Lagrange, 2002. The triangular chevrons on it is what's called an exoskeleton. It means that the structural members that hold the building up are on the outside walls. That allows you to have really huge open apartments and condos inside with no columns in them. Everything's carried on the outside walls. The yellowish buildings at the end of the park, which kind of look like Art Deco, but are what we call Eco Deco. They're a modern interpretation of Art Deco. These 2 on the right. These were done by Papa George Haynes in 2005 and 6, condominiums. But you'll notice when you look at them, the city approved 2 identical buildings. But the second building is quite a bit shorter and set back from the river. The reason for that is when they started doing soil testing, when they were going to put foundations in, they discovered that the soil under the second building was much swampier and muddier than the soil under the first one, and it couldn't support the weight of that building. The foundations are very expensive here. Bedrock, where you actually go into stone, is 100 feet down. You don't hit rock until 100 feet. We have 100 feet of mud, muck, clay, all kinds of stuff before you actually hit stone. It costs a lot of money to put foundations down there, and these buildings weren't large enough to support pushing the foundations down. So
That's a lot of construction.
this same thing in this huge building coming up on the right. This is one of the largest buildings in the world when it was built. It's the Montgomery Ward Warehouse, designed in 1906 to 1908, designed by Schmidt, Gardner, and Martin. It's a prairie style, popularized by Frank Lloyd Wright. This was where they filled the mail order catalog sales for the Montgomery Ward Company. And what would happen is the order taker, they would hand him an order and say, here, and here's a box. You walk around in there and fill the box. But the problem is the building was so huge, it was taking forever to fill a box. The guys were saying, Jesus, this is taking forever. This building's too big.
Backing up.
Montgomery Ward is stewing in his office, finally said, okay, everyone who works for me gets roller skates. And that's how they got around in there, was on roller skates, and it worked. Plant, they have huge presses in here. We print 70 newspapers here, including the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Midwest editions, and the Tribune and the Sun-Times, and tons of other papers are printed here. The only thing that's interesting about the building at all are these two doors. You'll notice on the right, you'll notice there's two brown doors in the sides of this building. Now, the idea that the Skip Lorenz and Merrill had was that you would float newsprint. Newsprint comes in large round rolls, and you would float it up to this bank over here. They put places to tie up a barge and offload the newsprint through those doors. The doors would open up. There were cranes behind the doors to reach out, pick up the newsprint, and just drop it into the presses. That was the idea. They wondered, why did we build elevated trains instead of a subway? The problem was they couldn't keep the tunnels from flooding. This is a swamp. They had no pumps that could pump water out fast enough to keep the tunnels from flooding, so we had to put the trains up above ground. Today we do have subways, but they have giant pumps pumping water all the time to keep the water out of it. Sam Henson was a great utilities magnate who brought electricity all over the United States. Remember I talked about Art Deco buildings looking like
instead of a U.
This one looks like a sofa. It's so huge.
It's the Greek word.
Behind the wall here, which you'll notice there's massive comedy and tragedy on it, is a 4,300-seat opera house.
Oh, you see it? The masks?
Massive fabulous. All gold leaf. It's just absolutely spectacular.
Do you see them or no?
The timing of this building could not possibly have been worse. They opened in October 1929. The stock market blew up 1 week after they opened this building. It's shaped like the Opera House. It has two tall towers on the sides and then the low section in the middle. And the architects, I said, I'd like to kind of fit in design-wise next to the Opera House. I want to kind of match the look of it. And it does. It's really neat. Okay, over on the right, these are buildings. There's 4 buildings in a row, all designed by Skip Lorenz and Merrill. These are all over railroad tracks. There's 10 tracks wide underneath all of this. Now, these are style of building called Mies by Mies, after Mies van der Rohe. This is a style of building that's very popular one here. This third building, this is what done in 1971. The first boxes in the 60s. This is now getting away from that museum style because it doesn't have
It's like a water taxi.
exterior. It's got concrete on it. But notice the little building with the X's attached to it. This is the trading room, the one-room trading floor for the mercantile trade. This is an exoskeleton. Literally, the X's hold the building up. There were no columns in it. It's the same architect and same style as the 100-story Hancock building on North Michigan Avenue, which is also has X's all the way up to the 100 stories. The fourth building, again, all of these are over railroad tracks. The fourth building, all the mail order companies sent everything through here. We have 80 mail order companies in Chicago. Everything went through here, went on trains running underneath. Now notice an interstate highway goes right through the building. Now when they designed it in the late teens, they first of all looked at Daniel Barnum's 1909 plan, and they said, what did Barnum say was going to happen over here? Highway going through this lot. They said, we don't know what an interstate highway is. We don't know what Barnum's talking about. Post office. The only thing I like to note, there's no river walk. When they submitted the plans to the city said, well, you forgot about the river walk. And the post office said, look, we're bigger than you are, and we don't like river walks. That conversation.
Got him.
I think there'll be a glass one someday across this. Now take a look at this incredible thing going on to the left. This is a city, a new city within a city going up. There's going to be 3,600 homes here when it's done. It's going to take 10 years to complete this. Perkins and Will, Ralph Johnson is the lead architect. There's going to be 4 towers. There's going to be townhouses in here. There's going to be a park and gardens along here with waterfalls and everything. That's why they're tearing all of this for a park. It's going to be absolutely breathtaking. And this is over abandoned New York Central Railroad property. About it in a minute. Not right now. It's a very historic site right there. But before I talk about the tower, I want to talk about in front of us, this bridge. That's 12th Street or Roosevelt. On the other side of that bridge is where the 28-mile-long sanitary ship canal starts. And it doesn't look any different than it looks here, but what they did is they widened the river, they cut it much deeper, way deeper, and they put concrete all along the sides for 28 miles, and they took every curve and turn out of that river. They had all kinds of curves and turns. There are no curves and turns anymore except one, and it's 3 miles long, a very gentle curve to move this canal southwest towards Joliet. Now, you may wonder, where are all the boats? When this canal was built, this international port is 16 miles south of here now, in the Calumet River, which is links between the canal and Lake Michigan, south of here. And it got started after the fire because they had, first of all, they had to get rid of all the burned buildings before they could put new ones up. They pushed them all out into the lake, the burned city, and underneath that's Grant Park and Millennium Park. Underneath that is the burned city.
Oh,
and
Chicago fire.
When they got this going, they said, well, this is kind of tower and Sears Tower. But first I want to just mention the building on the right, which has a very large statue on the top. It's a pyramid-shaped roof and a large 5-story tall statue. It's an Art Deco 1930 building designed by Halliburton and Root. It's the Board of Trade for all agricultural products that are traded worldwide. The statue at the top is Ceres, the Roman goddess of France, 5 stories tall. When the developer was talking to the artist who was doing the statue, the artist said, look, she can have facial features or no face, you pick it. The developer said, why should she have a face? No one will ever see it because there will never be a building in Chicago again taller than this. It was right for 25 years. It was the tallest building outside of New York City.
Wow.
But let's talk about the tallest building again, the Black Tower, straight ahead with the large twin radios. This is the Willis Tower today, locally known as the Sears Building. 110 stories, 1,450 feet, 450 meters. It was designed by Bruce Graham, was the architect, and Fazla Khan was the engineer of Skidmore, Owens and Merrill. The big problem.
Oh yeah, that's why Sears is open here in Chicago.
This 110-story building is wind. Wind pushes these buildings around. Now this building today, if you could stand up there today, there's really no wind. There's just very little gentle winds. The building moves 3 feet every 45 seconds at the top. If you stand up there, it's moving back and forth 3 feet.
That sucks.
And I can see this building 50 miles out of the city, just flowing. Gorgeous building. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Sears, but
You know that sticky notes all over it.
at the senior season, we have interesting things happen on water. As you know, and it appears that we have a boat that is sinking or
Oh, man.
over. And fortunately, the shoreline boat is right there. So There were three stages for Sterling. And so fortunately, our boat was right there. We were able to, our crew was able to rescue the fellow, and we actually rescued the dog. They were pulling that boat out of the way. Let's talk about the railroad for a minute. You'll notice all of these buildings are
Where are the people?
These are all relatively new.
I don't know if that's for saving.
Figure out how to get a building
That's the news company.
because the foundations are the whole problem. There's not a lot of room. When you look here, you see all of those foundations. Those are the foundations going underneath that building. And of course, they can't go to bedrock.
You see it?
Remember, bedrock.
You see the police up there too?
That's how you get buildings up to hold them up from California, the West Coast. All right, folks, we have a police boat coming around right now, and he's going to
Everything's everything good.
hold
Great.
this boat that is stuck, and the Mizu's bumpers are actually keeping the boat from going down all the way. The bumpers are holding it. It's going to really be great that close to being that close to, okay, good. I guess I can tie it up to it now.
He's not being too successful.
This is actually quite a bit better than actually picking someone up out of the river. Because if you think about it for a minute, if somebody goes into the river, what's the next stop? The next stop is a hospital, because this river truly is not totally drinking water clean yet.
Yeah.
And if you
That's what
go
I'm
in the
saying.
river,
Where's the people?
what we had to do is
Very toxic water.
Again, there's no place to get people off because there's no doctors along here. We had to go back to our dock where the ambulance was waiting. Take the person to the hospital, and this boat, you could really jam when it's 90 degrees out. It's just wall-to-wall kayaks, and you're dodging everything with these boats out here. But
Where the people?
anyways, as I mentioned, the railroads, you put your foundations down
Look at the
between
police officers.
tracks,
Those guys jackets.
between the platforms, and that's all. Yeah, something really went wrong there. Okay, folks. Nothing to see. Everything's under control. All right. Headquarters is off in the distance. It's a building that has a clock tower up at the top. Gray building up on the left. In the distance, a clock tower and a Boeing symbol down below it. That building's built 1990. Ralph Johnson, Perkins and Will did that short building.
Hi, I'm looking at you. Look at me.
20-story tower, and then they got a 10 to 12-story party roof. What they did is they dropped, the reason the building is so narrow is they dropped it between tracks. There's 6 tracks wide in front underneath this plaza. It's the first building with a plaza in front of it. The reason for the plaza is there's 6 tracks wide underneath here in the front, and then on the back side there's 10 tracks wide. But it just dropped right down between the building, down there between the tracks. Now, the architect kind of was very influenced by Egyptian design at this time. This was done in the 20s. These doors you see coming out, he really compared this to the Sphinx in Egypt. He said those are the arms of the Sphinx coming out of this building. All right, let's talk about
So where's the nose that they shot off?
that you're going to see on this whole tour. It's coming up on your left. It's just beyond the Boeing building. You got the Boeing building here. This is the parking garage and then the tower. This is the tall building straight ahead. That on the left.
there's a jet on.
This is a brand new building. It opened last year. This is absolutely the worst lot I ever saw. The lot, it was about 60 feet wide. It had about 20 plus feet of river wall that only left 40 feet for foundations.
That's the one I said.
And the rest of it's railroad tracks. So take a look at it. The building is 40 feet wide at the base. This is on your left. It's concrete, 40 feet wide, and then at the 4th floor it flares out to 125 feet to build. All of the foundations are where the concrete is. It took them over here to put them in. They're 16 feet wide. There's 10 of them, 16 feet wide. Giant caissons going down way into bedrock to anchor this building. And the Kennedy family advisor developing this Wolf Point. How the Kennedys got involved here is the huge building straight ahead. This is the Merchandise Mart, also now called the Mart, built in 1930. This was the largest building in the world when it was built. It's an Art Deco done by Graham Anderson, Post and White. To put perspective, a size of it. Today it's the third largest building in the United States. Number one is the Pentagon, 6 billion square feet. The Sears Willis Towers, number 2, 4.5. This is 4.3, and it's only 18 stories tall. It's almost as big as the 110-story Sears Tower, and it's 18 stories. But look at the size. And I don't like it, but I wanted to give you Wolf Point while you're at it, just to make you feel better about spending all this money. The question is, how environmentally sensitive was the building, the materials that went into it? How efficient is it to operate? To give an example, the water here is pulled.
That's pretty. You see that?
Designed by the Burnham Brothers for the Carbon and Carbide Corporation. Today it's the Lady Jane Hotel. But anyways, the design inspiration, the developer saw a champagne bottle floating in the architect's office. He said, I want my building to look like a champagne bottle. They have green terracotta, and the top is 24 karat gold. It's real gold, and that's to look like the foil on a champagne bottle. To figure the name out on this. It's a tower and hotel. Beautiful building, 2010, designed by Adrian Smith and Bill Baker of Skidmore, Owens and Merrill.
It's a beautiful
This is another one of those really bad lots. This lot was a Sun-Times printing plant. The lot is really narrow and it's long.
Yeah,
The wind is the whole problem. This is a 90-story building, and the wind really pushes these babies around.
I guess all the
What they did to anchor this one, if you look at the Trump name, you'll see a grill. About 3 stories.
Yeah, the windows are open.
Look up the side, there's 3 more of those grills. Inside those are 3-story high outriggers like they have on the canoes in Honolulu. They're giant concrete outriggers that keep the building from swinging. Just an amazing piece of architecture.
everything is in the roof.
Essentially a glass building. 4 little columns inside holding the whole thing up. Mies van Rooyen would have just loved this if ever lived to see it, because that was his ultimate dream, all glass buildings with no walls. This is an homage to Rockefeller Center in New York City, which is an Art Deco building. This is an homage to Art Deco in Rockefeller Center. This is the NBC's headquarters in the Midwest. And beautiful building. Adrian Smith, Bill Baker are the architects. At this point, I'd like to point out the difference between, let's go look at the right side first of all. This is the old Illinois Central Railroad property. Again, this is all leased. All these buildings are leased land over the railroad, but notice how the buildings don't start until 3 stories up, and then they pushed them back away from the river as far as they could get them. This was laid out in the late 1960s when the river was still polluted badly. They said, let's get these buildings away from the river. Now, if you look on the other side, the left side, just off in the distance, and what you're going to see is a lot of high towers. Now, if I could get a clock and turn it back for, say, 40 years, and then every one of them, not one of these was here 40 years ago. Now it's a residential neighborhood. There's apartments, there's hotels, and there's condominiums. It's just, again, an astounding change that's happened in really a relatively short time period. This condo building on the left, I really like this one. This was done by Greg DiStefano in the early 90s. This one, you have townhouses at the base. You've got condos going up, and then there's a little crown at the top, like the Statue of Liberty. But what I like to point out is the green fascia work that they have around the windows, and also just the glass itself, the green color. What the architect was doing was trying to mimic the color of the river. And today is perfect. Look at this. You guys really lucked out. Look at this, my son. The river is turquoise. It looks like the Caribbean. It looks like you're on a sand beach in the Caribbean. So this is the North Shore Drive.
Oh, so
Now,
it goes out to the lake.
building you will ever see on the lakefront. There's absolute prohibition in our rules and bylaws of the city about building anything on the lakefront. Take a look, that 80-story building sitting there. The reason this building is there, it's Lake Point Tower, 1969, designed by Shipwright and Heinrich. The reason it's here, this lot was owned by our very first mayor, Mayor Ogden. And Mayor Ogden put a loophole in the deed to, oh I know, you look shocked. An Illinois politician doing anything to give himself an advantage. It amazes me that his great-great-great-grandchildren, like he's able to lease this out and still own it. For that building, a wonderful building. The city's aircraft carriers, no one drowned.
Really close to
We're always,
the wall.
running boats around. But
You better
the
be going
reason
in
the
reverse
aircraft
soon.
carriers
Yeah.
were here is because the
As we turn
United States
around.
government figured you couldn't get a submarine through the St. Lawrence Seaway to sink these aircraft carriers. And they were probably right. But anyways, this was the Navy. Our first president, George Bush, trained here. And today it's a recreational area. There's theaters here. There's museums. There's an amusement park, restaurants. There's a hotel going up right now on this pier. 2 feet higher than it is here. So you need a lock to get boats in and out to maintain that drop to help keep the river moving backwards. Behind us, and you can't see it, don't even bother turning around. There's water intakes under the water. We also take about 500 million gallons of water a day out of Lake Michigan to help keep this river. The river is flowing this way, which heads to the Mississippi. If you like, take a picture. I'll even stop talking here for a minute or two. This is just a wonderful spot.
Get your phone out.
Phone going dead.
Because they basically have 2,000 years of history there, that you can see. Now, we have 125 years as he apprenticed with Louis Sullivan. Louis Sullivan is, without any doubt, the greatest architect of the 19th century. No one even close to Sullivan. And it amazes me that these two incredible geniuses were together and learned everything you could possibly learn from Sullivan about organic architecture, philosophy of architecture. Now,
Yeah, take my picture like this.
You know I love my trees.
I don't know when.
Well, there's your globe thing. So we'll document this day as, or this thing is one of the moments that we'll come back and visit.
We will come back and visit.
Ha! I found it.